Hi, welcome to Numbers Academy. In this video, we'll be dealing with compound interest. Compound interest. Yes, remember that we've done simple interest in our previous video. Simple interest. Simple interest. Remember the formula to calculate simple interest is just over 100. This simple interest is just an interest on a particular amount of money, that is the principal, the particular rate for a particular period of time. But what the difference between simple interest and compound interest? Compound interest is such that the interest is compounded at a particular interval of time, meaning that if I should borrow a particular amount of money, let's say for 3 years, after 1 year, or that is the principal, that is the money borrowed or the money collected, so that in the second year the principal becomes the previous principal plus the interest. Then when you get interest, we add to the principal again, such that the principal becomes higher interest, 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 interest. So let's see what happens if the interest compounds for few years. Let's take for an example. Example number 1. Calculate the compound interest on 10,000 naira. On 10,000 naira at 10% per annum. 10% per annum for 3 years. For 3 years. So let's see how compound interest is calculated. So let's start with using the simple interest formula, because yes, the simple interest formula can still do this. So let's use it. The simple interest formula says PRT over 100. So we already know the principal here. The principal here is 10,000. The rate is 10%, and the time is now for 3 years, but it has to be compounded every year. That is, the interest should be compounded every year. So let's start with the first year. For the first year, we are going to have, so let's take this for the first year. We're going to have 10,000 multiplied by the rate 10 multiplied by 1 year, the first year, all over 100. So 0 cancels 0, 0 cancels 0. I'm left with 1,000. So that, so that, so that, so that. So the interest for the first year is 1,000. So let's tag this as the first year is 1,000. So how do we now call it compound? The second year now we are going to compound the interest such that the principal now becomes the initial principal plus the interest of the first year, that is the interest of the previous year, of the previous year, of the previous year. So the new principal now becomes P equals to 10,000 plus 1,000. So the new principal becomes 11,000. So for the second year, this the simple interest RT over 100. So the principal now is 11,000. So 11,000 multiplied by the rate still 10 multiply by 1 all over 100. 0 cancel 0, 0 cancel 0. I'm left with 1100 multiplied by 1, so it remains 1100. So for the second year, the interest earned was 1100. So let's calculate the new principal for the third year. So the new principal now, let's say principal will be the initial principal for the second year. The initial principal for the second year was 11,000. So say 11,000 plus the previous interest. The previous interest was 1,100. 1,100. So that makes 12,100. So that makes 12,100. So this becomes our new principal for the third year, since we're asked to calculate for 3 years. So for the third year, let's say PRT over 100 is equals to the simple interest, and the principal now is 12,100 multiplied by the rate 10 multiplied by 1 all over 100. So 0 cancels 0, 0 cancels 0. I'm left with 121 here. 121 multiplied by 10 is 1,210, right? Correct. So this is the interest earned at the third year. So let's calculate the compound interest now. So the compound interest will be the summation of the interest earned at each year. So the first year, the interest earned was 1,000. So we say 1,000 plus the second year 1,100, 1,100, and the third year was 1,210. So the summation of that is we have 2,100 plus 1,210. So that makes 3,310 naira. Example number 2. So can we see this question now? A deposit of 5,000 naira earns an interest of 8% per annum, compounded semi-annually. So we need to pay attention to this semi-annually of a word. Semi-annually means that the compound interest is done twice in a year. Semi-annually, that is, the year is divided into 2, so that the interest, so if the deposit of the money 5,000 naira is done in such a way that the compound interest, that is, the interest, will be added to the principal every 6 months. Every 6 months. So that is how it is compounded. So we have to calculate it in that manner. So the question says find the interest made after 2 years. So let's still use the formula for simple interest to get this done. Or let's state out our parameters first. PRT, right, over 100. That's the formula for simple interest. And here the principal is P is equal to 1,000, 5,000. The rate at which it is compounded is 8% per annum. So, and the time. So the time is 1 all over 2 in a year, right? In a year. So 1 over 2 in a year for how many years now? For 2 years. So we must take this into consideration. So let's take them one after the other. Let's say first half of year 1. So first half of year 1, we are dealing with PRT over 100. So the principal is 5,000 multiplied by the rate 8 multiplied by the time. The time here is first half, that's half of 1, that is 0.5 all over 100. So 0 cancels 0, 0 cancels 0. I'm left with 50 here. 50 times 0.5 is 250, right? It's 25 rather. So because 5 times 10 makes 50. That term can multiply 0.5 makes it 5. So 5 times 5 is 25. So this becomes 25 multiplied by 8. So 25 multiplied by 8 gives us 200. So 8 times 5 is 40, we write 0 and keep 4. 8 times 6 is 4, there's 16. 16 plus 4 is 20. So we have 200 naira. So the first step we have 200 naira. So second half of year 1. Second half of year 1. Remember that the principal will now have to add this interest to it to have a new principal. So the new principal P RT over 100. The new principal now is 5,000 plus 200, and that will be 5,200. Multiply by 8, multiply by 0.5 all over 100. So 0 cancels 0, 0 cancels 0. We are left with 52 here. So 8 times 0.5. So we have 52 multiplied by 8 times 5 is 40. We have 0 and keep 4. 8 times 0 is 0 plus 4. So we have 4. So we have 52 multiplied by 4. 52 multiplied by 4 is 208, right? Yes, 208 naira. So this is the interest earned at the second half of year 1. Now the first half of year 2. So we still take the formula PRT over 100. However, our principal now is 5,408. So that becomes our new principal. Multiply by 8, multiply by 0.5 all over 100. So there we have 5,408 multiplied by 4 all over 100, right? So that gives us 3 divided by 5. Okay, let's say 4 year 1 and 4 year 25. So we have 5,408 divided by 25. So that gives us 216.32. 216 naira 0.32 kobo. So this is our interest at the third calculation, that is the first half of year 2. So let's calculate for the second half of year 2. So the second half of year 2. So we still take on PRT over 100. So the principal now will be what? Remember that our last principal was 5,408. So we got 216. When we add it up, we have 5,624.32. 5,624. So let's take that. 5,624.32 multiply by 8 multiply by 0.5 over 100. So we know that's right, gives us 5,624.32 multiplied by 4 all over 100, and that gives us 5,624.32 over 25, because 4 year 1, 4 year 25. So we have this. So by the time we divide 5,624.32 by 25, we have 224 naira 9728.9728. So at the fourth calculation, that's the second half of year 2, we end, or the deposit end, 224.9728 naira. So we can take it to 2 decimal place. So approximately to 2.97. So now let's find the compound interest. So the compound interest now is the calculating the interest, or finding the summation of the interest from first half of year 1 to the last half of year 2. So when we add all together, we end up having 849 naira 29 kobo. So this is the compound interest earned for 2 years when it is semi-annually compounded at the rate of 8%. Now, there is an all-encompassing formula that we can use instead of calculating them one after the other. What if we have to calculate for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, or 50 years or more? How do we get it? Do we have to take them one after the other? No, that is why there is this all-encompassing formula. Says A equals to P open bracket 1 plus R all over N close bracket to the power of NT. See you in the next video to see how we are going to use this formula to calculate compound interest. Bye bye. See you in the next video.